Okay, in this video, it's going to be a short one, just talking about a couple of the examples that we have, because again, they're quite realistic, real life examples, and I think it's useful to talk about different ways that you can structure these things. All the examples are listed on the Node-RED-Seqera website, so if you click examples, you can kind of see what we're going to do, which is auto-resume on workflow failure and pipeline chaining. So you can read through more about them there, but I'm just going to show you them quickly. So if I go into my Node-RED instance, I'm going to go to Import, Examples, and Seqera, and I'm going to start off with auto-resume on workflow failure. This is quite simple and similar to the previous example that we had of just launching a pipeline. We've just bolted on a few extra things here. When we finished the work for monitoring the workflow, we have the two different outputs. If it works, then great, we just publish a debug message. And if it fails or it's cancelled or anything, or there's an error, we handle this output slightly differently. In this case, the idea of this workflow is to keep retrying the workflow up to 3 times. So if it's just a temporary problem, maybe it will fix itself if there's a glitch on the server or whatever. So what we're going to do is we do also want that protection of we don't want to retry forever, which is why we've got a bit of an extra logic in here. So first we take the output here and we're going to increment a retry counter. So we're setting, this is a Node-RED node called a change node, and we're going to set a variable called message.retries. If you remember, message is the variable which is passed along with the events. So it's kind of part of the flow. And we're going to use a JSON data expression here, where we just say it's a ternary expression. So it says if retries is set, set this variable to retries +1. So we're just going to add 1. If it's not set, if this is the first time we've seen it, we'll set it to 1. Okay, so it's pretty simple. So that just updates the retry counter, adds 1 to it. And then we have a switch node here, which says is message underscore retries, which we've just set. Is it less than or equal to 3? Then go to output 1. Otherwise, go to output 2. Output 2 here, so if it's more than 3, the counter we've retried 3 times already, then in this case we're just going to a debug message which just says give up. But otherwise we have the output coming here. Now the key thing this is really sort of demonstrating is that these message objects are passed through all of these nodes and they basically ignore anything which they don't care about. These are not doing anything with message.payload particularly, which means that the message.payload which was set by the monitor workflow node just gets transparently passed through them. And this output here that goes back into launch workflow still has those variables set from a monitor workflow. One of the outputs from a monitor workflow is the message.workflow ID. And that means in the launch workflow, we can set the resume from field to message.workflow ID. When we first trigger the workflow, this won't be set, so it will just be null. So it won't be sent to the platform and it will just launch a pipeline from fresh like normal. But on the resume, it will be set. We'll have a workflow ID set here. And the Node-RED does a little bit of configuration based on checking that ID to see what happens to that workflow, whether it ran any tasks or not, and will run in the appropriate way. So if there were successful tasks, it will launch it on platform with a resume flag so that those tasks are cached. You can imagine different logic here as well. You could kind of make this more complex or send notifications or other things. But for now, this is quite a nice, elegant example that just loops 3 times. You can try it quite easily just by cancelling the workflow 3 times and seeing it all flow through. Okay, the other example I wanted to talk about is the one called rnaseq to differentialabundance. And this is for pipeline chaining, which is a very common request. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit down here in the toolbar just so I can fit all this in. This logic is actually probably simpler than the previous one. All we're really doing is we're stitching 2 sets of launch and monitor together. The first one runs the rnaseq pipeline, then monitors it, and then if it's successful, we get an event from this middle node. It follows down here. There's a JavaScript function which just takes the output of this pipeline, reformats it into a sample sheet that's appropriate, and then passes that on to the differential abundance pipeline, which is launched and monitored. And if all goes well, you have the rnaseq pipeline running. As soon as it finishes, the differential abundance pipeline is automatically kicked off. And then when that finishes, you go to the debug message up here. There's a couple of things which I think are interesting. This example was written by Adam, and he's done things slightly differently to how I've done them in the other examples. So one of the things here is that we have the launchpad name. So the name of the pipeline to launch is set to a dynamic variable called message.rnaseq launchpad. And the params.json, it's a JSON data object here. If I click the three dots, you can see that the params are all set to different message variables. So he's done everything in the launch node very dynamically. And if I go back to the set user inputs node, this is a custom function, you can see we're basically setting all these variables in code here. So the name of the pipeline to launch is written in code in the JavaScript object. There's no right or wrong way to do it, it's just whatever makes most sense for you. Maybe it's easier to sort of see this all written down in code like this, or maybe you prefer typing the launchpad name into this box. It's up to you. Great. This is another example where I think Claude helped quite a lot writing all the JavaScript, but again, it's quite simple. Okay, hopefully those are useful examples to get you started with your own flows. Let us know if you have any problems or any questions.